Hello Lambeth, welcome back. Happy Thursday. This week we are celebrating World Water Week. So it is a week for us to think about all the water that we see and use in the world. That could be water from the oceans, lakes, rivers, the water that comes out of our tap, which is actually water that comes from our lakes and our rivers. Really any kind of water, because all water is important. Water is a very valuable resource to us because we use it to grow our food, we use it to keep clean, we use it to keep hydrated. We could not survive without clean water. So today we're doing an experiment to look at one specific kind of water pollution. Maybe you guys have heard about oil spills. An oil spill is when a ship carrying millions of gallons of oil spills some of that oil into the ocean. Now that can be really, really difficult to clean up, and it can be really bad for the animals that live in that environment. So to look at how oil spills work, let's check out our experiment. We're going to start with a glass of water and some oil. I'm going to spill a little bit of this oil into this water, and I want you guys to make a hypothesis. What do you think will happen when I spill my oil into my water? Will the oil mix with the water? Will it sink to the bottom? Will it stay on top? I don't know. So I want you guys to think about it, and then I will go ahead and make this mix happen. Just going to put a little bit in here. What's happening? Is it mixing with the water? No, it's just sitting on top. So oil does not mix with water, and that's what makes oil spills so dangerous. This oil pollution sits on top. It's called suspended matter pollution because it's suspended on top of the water. And any animals that try to swim through it or try to eat fish from the top of it get really, really sick. So that is why oil spills and oil pollution are so bad. Now, let's see what scientists do to try to clean up oil spills. Oil is really sticky. So you can see not sticky, but greasy. It's hard to get it off once it gets on. So scientists have to think, like, how are we going to pick up all of this oil when it's so hard to get rid of? Well, let's turn to our fun fact of the week for an answer. It says, did you know environmentalists use dish soap to clean animals after an oil spill? Isn't that interesting? Why would environmentalists use dish soap to clean up an oil spill? Well, we are going to do an experiment to find out. I want you guys to think about your dish soap and when you've seen it before. When your parents try to wash the dishes, what is that like? When you think about dirty dishes, a lot of times they're greasy. You used oil to cook, so they're covered in oil. And this dish soap helps get them clean. Let's see why. It doesn't take a lot. I'm just going to take a few drops of dish soap. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see some of this dish soap is staying up in the oil, and some of it is dropping down into the water. And that's because dish soap, the molecules in dish soap, can connect to the molecules in oil and the molecules in water. Now let's see what happens when we try to mix those two up. All right, got my mixing stick, and I'm just gonna start stirring and we'll see what happens. Can you see how that water is getting foggy? There we go. So what happened is by combining with the molecules in the oil and combining with the molecules in the water, the dish soap was able to mix the two of them together. So now the oil, the reason this water is foggy is because there's little teeny tiny bubbles of oil in it. So that oil is mixed all the way in with the water in a way that it couldn't mix before. If I touch it, it's still a little bit oily, but it feels a lot more like water now. It's not quite as slippery and greasy as it was before. So scientists are able to use dish soap to clean up their animals after oil spills. They're able to take birds that are covered in thick black oil, and one by one they very carefully rinse off each feather to make sure that that oil gets out of that bird's feathers, and so that bird can go on to have a happy life. Now, to clean up the whole oil spill, they need different kinds of chemicals that act the same way as soap. They help the oil combine with the rest of the ocean water so that it can spread out and stop floating on the surface and killing all the animals. That's one way that scientists have found to help clean up oil spills. Now, really quickly, before we move on to our craft, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about why oil is always above water, and that has to do with density. So if you look here, there's two different molecules that I've drawn. One of them has two H's and an O, or H2O. Can you guess what molecule that is? That's the molecule for water. Now this other molecule is much larger. I don't expect you guys to know what this is. They are like an oil molecule, a fatty molecule. So these, as you can see, they're much bigger. They take up a lot more space. Now down here, I'm able to squeeze in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 water molecules, and up here I only have 1, 2 fatty molecules. So that means that there's less matter squeezed into this space than this space. So what I've got here is a layer of water, and that water is really, really tight. It's really, really dense, which makes it heavy. And this oil is not as tight. It's kind of spread out. So that means it's lighter. It's less dense. So water is more dense than oil, which means that oil is always going to float on top of water. That is a really quick chemistry lesson in why water and oil don't mix. Now for some fun, let's look at our craft for the week. I will be coming around tomorrow with materials to make this, so get excited. What we've got here is our very own wave bottle. So what I did, the way I made this, is I combined water and oil. On the bottom here, I have a layer of water with some blue food coloring. And what do you think forms this top layer right here? What's floating on top of this water? You're right, it's oil. So I just mixed this water and this oil into one bottle. And now if I turn it on its side, we can watch those kind of play around and form a wave. So this is a fun little toy just to help you remember World Water Day and why it's so important to keep our water clean. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow with the activity. Bye.